Hey everyone, Attorney Nathan Sweet here, the Catholic American, come to you from my almost completed renovation here at my office. Look, this will be a really quick podcast today, but really interesting. Let me get through this with you really quickly. Have you ever been playing a game like Monopoly or Uno or poker at someone else's house, and then you get to a point in the game that something is big is going to happen, and you didn't know that they played the game that way, and you realize that they have different rules for the game than you did, and you made that decision in the game based on how the rules were where you grew up. House rules, that's what those are called, right? And they can drive you crazy. And in a way, these house rules are like customary law. Customary law. Customary law is something that's been around and driven society's way of life throughout human history. You have to know the custom, though. You have to know the house rule. And it wasn't, most of the time, written down. Before the investiture contest and Pope Gregory VII's papal revolution, which split the king's power from the church's right to name priests, laws blended seamlessly with everyday customs and their politics and their religion. Nobody tried to sort out laws or courts into a clear system. Almost none was written down. There were no trained judges, there were no group of full-time lawyers, no books on the law. Rules weren't planned out or organized. They were still woven into daily life, into custom, and they weren't pulled out as something separate. They weren't a standalone set of legal ideas or steps that existed to grow on its own. Our church kicked this off with Pope Gregory VII, along with a bloody fight for the principles of separation of church and state that lasted about 50 years. And in the following centuries after that, folk law in the peoples of Europe seemed to disappear almost completely, and they were replaced with this new sophisticated legal system. First in our church, the Catholic Church, and then for secular orders. Canon law and urban law and royal law, mercantile law, like business law back then, feudal law. So why does it matter to you in closing? Because we can get along much more effectively if we remember the written law is awesome, and it's separate from us, and it applies to all of us equally. It applies to our party, our leaders, us all. And this is this common commitment that we can find is the rule of law. Maybe you don't live by my religion or my custom, but as long as you are committed to the rule of law and not your religious custom becoming law over me, everyone is safe. This recommitment to the rule of law allows us all to be free and live out our lives in peace and to have a pluralistic society where not everyone has to agree on everything. And it's not based on the whims of someone's custom. Thank God, imagine that, how hard it would be to do business in a setting like that. How thankful you should be if you do business in America and in the West that there's a set of rules that if you go to Ohio or you go to North Carolina, they'll have maybe some differences in here or there, but at least it's written down and you know what you're getting into. So I say, next time you play Monopoly or Uno or poker and your friend springs some rule on you in the middle of the game and says, "Oh, that's not how we do that here," tell them to get out that little page of rules that no one reads, that the game comes with, that one that you probably lose after you open the box, and go ahead and take the W, take the victory, because you're following the actual written rules and not some house rules. So, peace be with you. Remember, you are the King's good servant, but God's first, and I look forward to joining you again.